get locked in because the door's broke.
I can look at you in the mirror. That's not awkward at all.
Yeah.
Do we need to like face each other? It's really, we need like a table in the middle though.
Yeah.
So an actual like coffee table. This chair is gonna kill have some.
Give you a complex.
We almost wear the same shirt.
Almost.
Okay.
Grays and blacks. It's a safe
Well,
bet.
and I set my chair in the frame, so hopefully it stays. But okay. So yeah, we're a day late on recording this, so hopefully we can still get it all in. We're trying out a new spot that I've got some stuff coming to help make this look a little bit more relaxing and cozy, and we can either drink our pre-workout or coffee or something. This wonderful image it's even signed, has been around since 2015, floating from one closet to the next, and then I went ahead and just wiped it down and put it out here, and this was on the wall, so that way we just didn't have an empty table, and this is probably going to be gone too. Um, so yeah, hi, how's it going?
Morning.
I told Jason, I said I've had a few different ideas of what I want to talk about today, but one of the things is I don't want to get redundant and repetitive, saying the same like rah rah, get back in and train. But then I had this idea this morning. There's always a but then or and then, like dude, and then we had a conversation probably not even an hour ago that I started thinking about going into a little bit more detail about like when we're struggling, not just from a training standpoint, but just in general. Like, so I'm gonna again put you on the spot. You get to go first. So you said yes. Was it yesterday or was it Tuesday's workout? So I said today I'm gonna try to make up Tuesday's workout because I don't want to do tomorrow's stuff, or at least not today. And then I'm gonna do today's workout, or at least some part of it. And you said, explain to me how Tuesday and Tuesday because your Monday was kind of tough, right?
Yeah.
Was that Monday?
Yeah.
So was it Monday?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was Tuesday's workout.
Yeah.
Yes. So like, just go into more detail about like, if you want to go into detail about like the background behind why you might not have been feeling great about even working out in general, and then kind of how you modified the workout or anything that might pertain. Just because I think it's good context for where it's like even when we don't want to do it,
Yeah.
and even when you start with a certain intention, and then something changes.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah. Tuesdays, well, to start with, deadlifts are not my favorite. And I always kind of joke that it's a circle of which came first. Am I not good at them because I don't like them, because I don't do them enough? Do I not do them because I don't like them? Vice versa. Um, they're just not necessarily my jam. So that was the strength work on Tuesday. And, well, yeah, Tuesday in general, I just probably wasn't quite 100%. Had a lot of some frustrating things with the house, I guess. Just household stuff that when it rains, it pours kind of thing. But so yeah, Tuesday was deadlifts, not my favorite, and probably was not quite 100%. So kind of parsed through the strength work, and then been trying to make myself do more of the conditioning workouts because I don't do don't do enough strength work to justify just doing strength work, especially deadlifts. But so I got set up for like the blue version of our workout, which a lot of times, um, like sometimes there's this thought that like, oh, I'm only doing blue, like that's just not even doing anything. But like, there's a number of times I will do blue just because I want to get a good sweat. Maybe like we talked about, maybe not trying to go full tilt every day, all day anymore, but still enough to check the boxes and get a good sweat and everything else. But so I was getting set up for that, and um, just got into it about a round and a half or 2 rounds into it, and just wasn't really feeling it.
So at that point, you're probably what, like 6, 8 minutes in,
Yeah,
somewhere
probably.
in that range. And it was about a 20-minute workout for
And
anybody who doesn't know, but
I had modified it down a little bit just to account for my extra volume in strength work
Yeah,
and time also. But so I originally set out to do about 15 minutes. So yeah, about halfway through that, it just wasn't really wasn't really clicking. So I just kind of modified it down to do less conditioning and less running basically, and a little bit more strength work. I just kind of upped the volume. I would do a couple of rounds before I went out for the run. And even then, I still don't think I made it all 15 minutes. It's just kind of one of those tough days where just wasn't there. Some days you have it, and some days you don't have it, but you can kind of fake it till you make it. But Tuesday just wasn't one of the fake it till you make it days. It was just kind of, well, you did something, but it didn't work. So collect your thoughts and go on about your day.
yeah. But you can still get done and be like, you know, I'm happy with what I did considering how the last couple days have gone and,
Yeah,
motivation wise, because, of course everything is always don't rely on motivation, rely on discipline. Well, we're all guilty of not wanting to be motivated. And so so I think it was my yesterday. So Monday I did Monday's workout, which was, good. Intensity wise, everything felt good. Tuesday, I don't think I worked out at all because I just was working here on, and that's the second thing we're going to talk about today. I was working here on some stuff, and then so yesterday I had all these intentions of going out and running. So I'm rehabbing my calves, still kind of getting acclimated to that, and so I had this intention of going outside, running like my kind of 2 mile loop, and then rehydrating, kind of mimicking like a race situation. And then it was raining, and so I was like, well, I'll run on the treadmill. And the last two times I've run on the treadmill, my left like ankle slash Achilles area has been like clicking. There's no pain, but I'm old enough now that I'm like, that's not something I want to push through.
yeah,
So I decided that there looked like there was a break in the rain, and so I was like, you know what, I'll go out and I'll run, like 2 miles. So I'll try to run it a little harder since I've just been jogging most of them. And of course, I get half a mile out, and kind of opens up a little bit, slows down. So I'm just soaked, but I decided to just go ahead and finish it up. And I got done, and I was pretty proud of the effort. But I was thinking about it on my like last half mile. I can't remember that like when I ran, I would run all weather. Like it didn't matter. I'd put a rain jacket on, whatever. I'd be soaked, feet would be soaked. That's why I had multiple pairs of shoes. But I couldn't remember the last time that I ran in the rain on purpose. So there was something kind of
yeah,
freeing about that. And anybody who's quote unquote been a runner has probably ran in about every type of, you see those videos of the lady like, oh, this is the perfect running weather, and then 2 seconds later you see her eating it. Have you seen that?
mm-hmm.
Oh, we're watching that today. That's a classic. But so yeah, that was just something that popped in my head. Like if we are gonna, have anything that's even health fitness related, that's a good thing. Is that like it's not every workout's going to be your best, and I think I've got a couple clients right now that they're kind of in that super motivated, so they're very hard on themselves. So like if they come in and maybe they're not feeling it that day, it's like 5 minutes of therapy at the end, telling them like, look, it's okay. Like you don't have to have your best workout every single day.
Yeah,
In fact, it's probably better if you don't. Just kind of keep yourself because there will be a point, and we talked about that with the progression stuff, where it's like in order to progress, you just got to keep doing more and more and more. Eventually, that might lead to some type of burnout, or you
yeah.
change up what you're doing. So that leads me to my other conversation. This one is not necessarily gym related, but how difficult change can be.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, if you're watching this and you're not a member of the gym, or if you are a member of the gym and you haven't been in this week, I've probably done more in the last 3 days in terms of just organizing. We do our weekly cleaning, but it's something that we probably should hire out because it needs to be done deeper and more often. But we do our weekly stuff. But I've kind of had this like motivation, which again can't rely on motivation, but I've been super motivated to have everything finally set in a place where we're never going to move it again. And so I started moving stuff around. And the whole time I'm thinking somebody's not going to like this. Somebody's going to be, upset that I, moved the rowers farther away from where they normally set up or whatever,
Yeah.
you name it. And then it reminded me of back when I, worked at a different place in town, and it was like you get 99 positive surveys, but it was always that one that would get not on your nerves, but like on your mind. You think about it all the time.
Yeah.
So I had this idea of like, okay, well, like change, and this one is for you specifically, and I didn't tell you about it because you have competed at the highest level. You've competed in Guatemala as a powerlifter. You, as of last time we checked, still an American record in the squat, roughly 435-ish pounds. Was it 435 or was
Yeah.
it? Okay. At 117-pound body weight, which I've always said is like me squatting 800. That probably more than that. 4 times. Yeah. No, because that's almost 4 times. Be like 3.5 times your body weight. So that'd be like me squatting almost 900, relatively speaking. But when you've competed at that level and that event is over and you're not really sure, okay, I'm going to compete again, or I'm going to break the bench record now, or I'm going to do whatever. Like, what goes through your mind when you're trying to figure out? Obviously, you like to work out,
Yeah.
and we did a lot. We spent a long time doing hypertrophy work.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you weren't doing it, I probably wasn't going to do it. And if I wasn't doing it, you probably weren't going to do it, which is what we experienced the last 6 months.
Yeah.
With me training for that half Ironman, because we both said, even when you were training for your powerlifting stuff, if I wasn't doing my ollie lifting stuff at the same time,
Yeah.
it would have been harder for both of us to stay focused, right?
Yeah.
But now that you're not competing, what is your like thoughts on training in terms of like what are you focusing on? Is there a focus, or are you just kind of like, you know, speed limit 60 and you're set at 61? Meaning like I'm just going to do what I need to do to stay fit or healthy or whatever before you decide if you want to compete again.
Yeah. No, there's not really a plan in place. I think more so towards the the last option in the sense of I'm just kind of working to just keep things working if and when I decide to compete again. I mean, obviously it's a lot different. There's a lot of prep that goes into that, but it wouldn't be, starting over. It's starting again. No, but I mean, mostly just A, to keep doing something, and B, to feel a little bit better. I always joke, or not really joke, but I like powerlifting, but I also like my joints to not hurt. So, scaling down a little bit and just doing a little bit more generalized training feels better. Like it's tougher in a different aspect where, I've been trying to do a little bit more running this year, like even in the workouts and elsewhere. Um, Whereas usually I would sub out for a row or whatever else, but no, just trying to just kind of keep a general base, I guess. And yeah, if I find a time in which things are feeling great and I want to pursue that again, maybe. But no,
So I haven't convinced you to do a half Ironman.
no,
I sent you that video.
no,
I
no,
mean,
no,
it's doable.
no, no.
Never say never.
That one I could pretty much say.
um, I just interrupted my own train of thought. No, obviously the powerlifting, it's a dedicated. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. So you mentioned like when you're competing at an elite level, you're taking risks, right? Like there's a very real chance of you getting injured if you're attempting an all-out max. Like if it's a weight you've never had on your shoulders before, your body's never experienced that. There's always a risk. Okay, obviously you're relying on your training, your progression, you're not making big jumps, or you're not just randomly throwing weight on a bar one day and going, oh, I wonder what I can max out. It's a progression.
Yeah.
Like you're ready for it. And that is the trade-off. And I think I joke with people that like the best all-around shape I was ever in was probably in like 2018, 2019, when all I was doing was our normal 1 hour a day work, and then I would do a little bit of some like ollie lifting on the side, and that's when I had my highest strength numbers, my fastest mile times, like all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I was younger. Maybe it was that. Maybe it was younger. Maybe I just slept more. I don't know. But that is the trade-off. Is if you're competing at a high level, and I tell this to like parents of like high school athletes, if your kid wants to play college football, there's more risks that have to be taken in training and in sport and competing than if you just want to make the varsity team and get a letter winner, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's just, that's just what has to happen. Like I tell people like, you can go the rest of your life without maxing out, but if you're going to be, you know, an elite competitor, at some point you got to figure out what you're capable of.
Yeah.
You know, obviously you want to have all the safety measures and stuff, but so like training wise for you, you're kind of in, you know, just kind of this maintenance mode until you decide if or when you want to compete
Kind
again.
of the jack of all trades, master of none.
Mm. Well, and I go in and out. Like a month ago, I was super like motivated to just refine my swim because I had this idea of doing this full Ironman in a few years, you know, assuming I'm healthy. Um, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get in the pool. I'm gonna become like, because that part of the race, like I was telling Nate, like once you get out of the water, the race is over. It's just time at
Yeah.
that point. You're gonna finish. It's just a matter of when. But getting out of the water is nerve wracking. And I hit the pool and I'm doing these drills. And I'm feeling great. And now it's like I just don't want to swim. It's like I almost am bargaining with myself that I need to spend all my time and energy on rehabbing my calf because if my calf doesn't rehab, all the other training is for nothing.
Mm.
Not for nothing. Like I can still waddle my way through it, but if I'm going to actually compete, I got to have healthy calves. And then, you know, I've got my midlife physical today, which will be interesting. Hopefully everything is, you know, good to go there. But for the most part, like I do several days of our group training. I hit most of our strength work, and then I'm basically running 2 to 3 days a week. I haven't biked since the no, I haven't biked since the race, and I've swam like maybe 5 or 6 times in 2.5 months. So there's a lot of work to be done if I'm going to take this serious, but I'm also staying skilled enough that I can do it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, change, and that's why I just wanted to touch briefly on like your experience with training because obviously you've got the extreme one in literally however many millions of people that would potentially be competing. But then going back to like just being, you know, the average Joe lifter that wants to feel good and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But otherwise, any other notes on that? Any fine points,
No,
words of advice, things that crept into your head?
no pearls of wisdom.
Any, I thought about this today too. Any conversations with clients in the last week or two that, you know, you're like, oh, you know, I had this conversation with somebody. Maybe they shared something with you that, you know, was like a personal best or something along those lines.
No, not this week.
I had 2 different clients in the last, well, since probably in the last 2 weeks. Both of them newer clients that are just excited how much better they feel.
Mm.
You know, and one of them was like, all of these things that would normally be tiring at home aren't tiring. And I told this story about my one client, but
Yeah.
we see that so much. I mean, we see that all the time. And some people are vocal about it. Other people, it's like you could just tell. I had a client, a former client, tell me that one of my senior or one of our senior clients, they said they ran into her in public and they're like, "Oh, she's looking great." And I said, "Well, why don't you tell her that? That'd be very nice if somebody noticed because you know these people show up and she's coming about 4 days a week and they show up and they put in the work. Well, when you look in the mirror, got a couple mirrors around here, you don't see that day-to-day progress unless you're taking like a snapshot and looking at it.
Yeah.
So sometimes, you know, if it's great to tell me, and I will tell them, but also like if you see somebody and you notice a change, like you know,
Gas them up.
yeah, as long as it's not like the old what's the one that you always see on TV where it's like you don't ask somebody if they're pregnant ever, regardless of the situation. You never ask somebody if they're, if they're
Different,
pregnant.
different context, but yeah, it's never good.
But yeah. Otherwise, any other topics that we want to cover?
I don't think so.
Anything completely unrelated?
Still haven't seen Spider-Man
That was okay.
at this point. I think
We'll
I'm
go off.
just
We'll
gonna
go
wait.
off on something we weren't even talking about. But speaking of something we're not talking about, Spider-Man. My brother and I always text back and forth on superhero movies and all that stuff. And we've got a couple clients right now that are also very into it, and so we have some conversations about that. And I, you know, you watch something and it shows up on like TikTok or Instagram or whatever, And then so I get these ones now where it's like somebody will go back and basically do like an overview of like an entire comic line,
Mm.
you know, and all of these things that you couldn't possibly read all these comments
Yeah.
or these comics, but it was talking about the relationship of Frank Castle, the Punisher, Spider-Man. Obviously, he's in this movie. I'm not going to give away spoilers, but you know that there's a series where Frank Castle becomes Ghost Rider,
Mm.
Cosmic Ghost Rider. And I'm like, how many times are they going to write these stories?
Just
And it's like,
different.
if every
universe or
10 or
whatever.
15 years somebody goes back and retells the story of Spider-Man or retells Superman or retells whatever,
Yeah.
it's like there's all these other wacky, crazy ones. I'm waiting for somebody to do the ultimate like Batman as a movie or something like that because that's what apparently people are into, these like ultimate Batmans, ultimate Banes, and is it ultimate? I think it's called Ultimate. I haven't read any of them.
No idea.
I don't really read comics except for the Cliff Notes version that I get on TikTok.
Yeah.
And then of course there's ones where they basically say it like very casually with all kinds of f bombs and stuff thrown in.
Yeah.
Which
But
does pique my interest.
I say that's my usual verbiage.
Yeah, but otherwise all right. So yeah, change can be good, but it's also a little scary.
Mm-hmm.
Working out when you don't want to. I've told the analogy before, but I always think working out's like the anchor in a boat. And if I've told this before, I'm going to tell it again. But so imagine if this floor was a large lake and you're in the middle in your boat, and that boat is working out, and your anchor is working out. Obviously, when waters are calm, it's real easy. You're just chilling, you know. But maybe there's a wind, maybe there's waves, maybe there's storms. You still got that anchor kind of holding you down, right?
Mm.
Now, if that anchor comes up, you float away. Who knows where you're going to end up?
Yeah.
So that's why I've said like even when you're not like paying attention nutritionally, maybe your diet's off, or maybe you just don't give a crap. Keep being active, keep working out because that's to me that's the anchor.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right, next time we'll have our room set up hopefully.
Hopefully.
I don't know about painted, but okay.